Leeds United have just faced off against Plymouth Argyle and managed a brilliant 2-0 victory in what was a little bit shaky throughout, but ultimately a very good win. In this video I'm going to do a quick match breakdown, talk about the attack, the defence, what else happened on the pitch sort of in between and throughout, and ultimately my man of the match. But first, I would hugely appreciate if you'd be able to subscribe. It's just a very quick button right down there, and I'm 50 away from 2,000 and I'm really looking forward to hitting that milestone, so if you could, that'd be massively appreciated. But diving into the match, first up we need to talk about the attack, because the attack did really well in this game in my opinion. Something weird happened structurally. So at the start of the season we were used to Georginio Rutter playing in the 9, Pirou in the 10, and that would sort of evolve as the game went on, and we've gone back to that weirdly. At least at the start of this match we shifted Pirou back into the number 10 role, and Rutter seemed to go into those higher areas, was more responsible for running the press, attempted to find some passes from that higher position, which in theory makes sense, because you're sort of letting him act as a conduit in somewhere that he can be quite dangerous. But it didn't necessarily work. I think Rutter seemed to struggle in those high areas because it seemed like there wasn't enough space for him to do his job. That wasn't really good, in my opinion. You would note that there was always a defender at his back, potentially even two, and that would cause him issue after issue after issue. And he wasn't his creative best in this match as a result of that, which wasn't good. In addition to that, Crescencio Somerville also felt like he had a little bit of a tough match here. Crescencio Somerville is a very good player. He's a very strong and precise footballer, and he knows what he wants to do whenever he has the ball. And this is a weird one, and this is one that a lot of people go, you can't make excuses, but that's not what this is. This is just an explanation of what I think went wrong. It's weird, but I think sometimes the weather can work against us because we are such a precise side. Rutter and Somerville rely on those like one touches that they expect to go into a particular place, and if the conditions are right, they absolutely do. And even if the conditions aren't right, like that Gnonto ball over the top for, the Rutter ball over the top for Gnonto for the first goal, that was really good. That was really precise, and with the way that we know that Rutter works, he will just pick a pass to somewhere on the pitch without anyone else seeing that it's on. Very deliberate. But at the same time, a lot of plays didn't come off in this match because of that. Because of the whole, it's a wet pitch, they're going to slip about a bit, and that didn't really suit the way that we like to play, and I think that caused a lot of problems. In spite of all that, I felt like Wilfried Gnonto really sparkled. You can tell that he's feeling it at the moment, you can tell that he scored 5 in 5 matches, and he just seems to be a little bit bouncy. He's someone that like is now happy to take on a defender if someone's trying to stand him up, and joyful in the fact that he has the ability to do that and do it whilst having a smile on his face. You can tell he's loving his time at Leeds at the minute, and I wouldn't change that for the world. Now, and on the Rutter thing, I noticed that the only note that I took was that he seemed to struggle in high areas. He did also do incredibly well. He did create a lot of opportunities. He did score a goal. So this feels a little bit harsh for that to be the only note that I've got down about him, but I absolutely loved him in this match. He wasn't at his usual best, but that's because his usual best is all the way up through the roof. In this match, he was just your standard, very, very, very good footballer. Anyway, onto the defence side, I think we were a lot more open than we would have hoped in the build-up to the match. As I mentioned in my pre-match, Plymouth are very good at scoring goals. They have managed to do so in every single match they've played since the 13th of December, except they didn't this time. We managed to hold them out. Weirdly, it was also QPR that managed that on the, and they're currently like 22nd in the division, which, confusing, but somehow they managed to close them out. But I think it was open because they relied very heavily on unexpected transitions, and in part that was our own fault. We were a little bit loose with the ball throughout the game, and when we were trying nice little bits of passing play, we'd accidentally pass to their man, and they were like, oh, cool, I've got the ball. And they'd just go and force a transition and try and make a chance. They were still limited, however, which meant that they didn't get that many shots on target. I'm going to pull up the stats, actually, because I have just realised I didn't actually look at the total number of shots on target on their end, but they didn't have many. I know that much. Where are we, where are we, where are we? There we go. Let's have a quick look. Apologies, I might cut this bit out. I might not. We'll find out. It's going to be fun. There we go. Into the browser. Yeah, they were quite good on XG. They had a total of 1 shot on target, so we've continued that run of no team having more than 2 shots on target against us since the match against Preston on Boxing Day. Very good for us. and very solid and very fun to watch, because it's not fun when Leeds United have conceded a goal. Apologies, I've got the Leicester match going on there and they nearly scored. I'm really hoping Middlesbrough win. Let's pull it back to be a bit more of a four-horse race. I think something that a lot of people won't note as well is that Meslier did really well to keep them out. Example 1, that cross that wasn't actually a cross that went directly at Meslier's net. The fact that he was able to just swat that away, fantastic, because that was hit incredibly hard. There was also the free kick that everyone thought would end up in a cross. Meslier ended up able to get on top of that as well. And there were a few times where they massively packed out his box, assuming that he'd feel a bit under pressure and have a bit of an issue. His catching was on point because, as I've kept saying, when he's under threat, he will catch a ball because he knows that he can do that. And his punching was pretty good as well. The early chance that we had in the first half where Kamara got fouled for a yellow card came from a Meslier punch. It's done so we can counter-attack. It's deliberate. Let's not have this conversation again. Elsewhere on the pitch, I think we were somewhat loose in midfield. Glenn Kamara before this was on an incredible streak of top-tier passing accuracy, and that sort of fell apart in this match, in my opinion. We were very loose in the middle of the park. We were passing the ball to nobody, passing the ball to them, passing the ball out of play, and ultimately that led to a lot more problems than we should have had in this game. We are always the cause of our own issues. Those silly little mistakes, the silly little imperfections will give teams like Plymouth a chance to get into the match. We were able to shut them down enough, but we need to make sure this doesn't happen again in the future, because if it does, potential issues. In addition to that, there were some very weird refereeing decisions. Sometimes he'd give something as a foul, and then something that was a lot rougher he wouldn't give as a foul, and the main note as to why this referee wasn't very good was that we could visibly see that Dan James was fouled inside the box. There is a line, quite useful actually to any referees. There's a line that marks out where the penalty box is, yeah? Dan James was inside that line when he was fouled. Very interesting, you'd think it's a penalty. No, he's given a free kick. Okay, that threw me a little bit. In addition to the fact that he seemed to have a little bit of a struggle throughout the rest of the match, that makes me think the referee maybe didn't have the best of times. But that didn't matter in the end. Nice 2-0 win, fantastic. And now to pick my man of the match. And I'm going between two players on this. I'm going between Gnonto, who was an absolute shining beacon of light, who scored a goal with a fairly nice first touch and a finish that admittedly wasn't exactly what we would have expected, but it did the job. And Georginio Rutter, who had a decent enough game. Not his best, not his worst. Managed to score and get an assist even in spite of being off the pace. So I think ultimately I would land on Rutter, primarily because you could tell what they were trying to do with him. They had two players on him at all times, at the very least, shutting him down. And the fact he was able to deal with that and have a big part in both of our goals, absolutely huge. And I think he basically gave us the win in this game. So I'm going to stop talking now, because I have a very sore throat, because I have been either streaming or talking or filming for the last 5 hours. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe if you aren't yet. Help me get to that 2,000 mark. Like the video if you enjoyed it at any point, and I will be seeing you later. And I think the word for the people that stick around to the end to put in the comments. It's always nice to see how many of you there are. Promotion. We'll go with promotion. Cheers.